You can sit or stand wherever you want.
Oh.
You-
Good morning, family. My name's Debbie. I'm an addict.
Hey, Debbie.
I'm a little nervous, so could we just have a quick moment of silence so I can gather my, 10-minute or a 5-hour moment of silence? Thank you. I had to, it's a good thing that we can laugh at ourselves today. And when I get into what I'm going to share about, I'm not here to, I'm here to tell my experience, my strength, and hope. And if I told all of it, it would probably take 2 days to go through it. So I'm glad there's a time limit on this. I had to laugh at myself, which I can do today. When I got this phone call to do this workshop, I was very, very humbled, and that little committee came in, no, you have nothing to, you can't do this, because if you share that in this workshop, people are gonna really get to know you probably for the first time in a long time, So I went to bed, and we had a 14-hour ride yesterday, and so I had 14 hours to do every workshop in this retreat this year, and I had all these profound talks in my head, and I was thinking about what my husband does before I start sharing. He'll go like this, because that's what it's about sharing from the heart, and I went into treatment quite a while back, and I'm going to take you on a little journey and share some experiences and what happened and how and where I'm at today. And when I went into treatment, I knew that the drugs had gotten to me. I was 96 pounds, and I'm already a very thin person. And a little thing inside my head said that, you're dying. You have been dying for a while, and the fear kicked in. And I went in there to be safe and to find some help with whatever was going on with me, because I thought, well, if I'm dying, then it's got to be something medical. I got to have some disease, and they can, take care of it. But I'm sick of living the way I'm living, And a lot of profound things happened to me in treatment, and I don't question any of it at all. And I'm just grateful for it. And I have a very strong higher power today and a very good conscious contact. And I made it through my treatment, but during, I think, about the third week, I was just bouncing off the walls. And I'm such a good doctor, I'm telling myself, Deb, you have so many drugs in your system, it's going to take years for it to get off, or get out of your system. And we would have to write these sheets every night about the day's events and how you're feeling. And my counselor noticed that my writing was really erratic. One day it would be really nice and neat and perfect, and the next would be illegible, So within 24 hours, I was sitting in front of 2 psychiatrists that asked me 2 questions, and they put me on lithium bicarbonate, and within 24 hours I overdosed and I almost died. And I was also of the mindset, because I'd been around people in recovery for so long, that a drug is a drug is a drug is a drug. My MO was running to the doctors all the time, and I can honestly say today that it wasn't to chase the drug or to get the drugs. It was, I would get stuff that would make me feel calm, and I found myself saying, I would be sharing, I used to go to the doctor and just so I could go get all the drugs, and sometimes what they were giving me was working. I'd have these long periods of calmness, but I knew that I had already crossed the line to addiction, so I accepted that I was an addict, and what I was doing was okay. And then it was like my brain was so weak, I would form other people's opinions about what I was doing, my motives, my means, I mean, everything. And I became very intolerant of people that were taking any kind of medication, because I'm like, oh, yeah, that was my MO. They're just going and getting the dope. It's all dope to them, And by forming that opinion, which was a lot of other people's opinion, I did harm to myself. I did harm to myself because I became one of those people that I was intolerant of and judgmental, and straight up told them, you ain't clean. If you're taking that, you're not clean. So I worked a very vigilant program for the first few years of my recovery, and stayed busy. Workshops, conventions, retreats. This is one of the first retreats I walked into. Did region work. Got with area. Home group. And I stayed really busy because that was the pace for me. Busy. The minute it would slow down, I wouldn't slow down. I would not slow down. And now that I understand everything today, there's reasons for that. And what really hit me was this workshop. I know that it was a higher power thing, but I didn't know how to start sharing about this and how to keep focused. And it says right here, oh God, I'm on the wrong day, I'm sorry. All right, the part, it was right in the morning meditation. Many of us, consciously or unconsciously, took drugs to avoid meeting challenge. Many of us were equally afraid of failure and success. Each time we declined the day's challenges, we suffered a loss of self-esteem. And I'm a very, I explore things, and, there's got to be reasons for this and this and this and that. And when I was getting sick, which I really didn't realize, but I do now, I got to the mindset where if you pick up, if you do anything, you're using automatically. And that's what I heard, and that's how I was raised in the very beginning of my recovery. And so I was, I just went, on and off my recovery, and then came about the third year, and that balance, what I thought was a balance, came, and things started slowing down. The region work, the region work quit. We don't have a lot of meetings in our hometown. Our traveling had stopped, so that I wasn't going to meeting after meeting and different meetings, and seeing my family. And I didn't stop. My brain didn't stop. And I started asking for help about, what is wrong? What am I doing wrong? Or I just don't understand. Or I'd share with somebody, and they go, "You're just complacent." I'm like, okay, that must be it. So I need to work harder. And my brain took it, and I would lock myself in the guest bedroom, and I would read and write, and it'd be just nonstop, hour after hour after hour after hour. I'm thinking something is not hitting me, something is not working, and I'm having a lot of crazy thoughts, and I'm totally it's the disease talking. It's the disease of addiction. So this all goes to using. I'm going to pick up any minute, and it progressively got worse, and I started having memory unblocked, or memory. I had memory blocks apparently, but something happened. They started coming forth, and I attribute it to being clean. And I believe that God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And I guess this was my time to start handling some stuff, because I could never understand why I act the way I do in recovery. Why this bothers me, why this bothers me, and the child in me was broke at 10 years old. And that was the first time that I picked up, was at 10 years old. And my life was totally fear-based. I was ashamed. I downplayed, which I still have a problem doing that, downplayed the incident. And the man that harmed me, his wife was going to be my teacher the following year. And I spent that whole year in and out of the hospital with stomach aches, you know. And I only remember like picking up that once when I was 10 years old. It was a couple shots out of my dad's bar. And so it changed my life. It totally changed my life. But I remember when I picked up, all I kept thinking is, I got to calm down. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. And from age 10 to 13, it was pretty much a blackout for me without using. And, you know, I know today that was a protective mechanism that we have, and I'm grateful, you know. And 13, I realized, is probably when I crossed over to the line of addiction. And, you know, I had to really take a look at myself and my family. And I was raised in an abused family on top of that, you know. And I learned a lot from my mother, who was very codependent, who took beatings, who took, you know, being demeaned. You know, it was terrible, but that's all I knew. That's all I knew, like, for a relationship, that's how it is, you know. So my choices on relationships weren't really good. But the whole time, I never felt right. I never, ever felt right. I would have these ups, downs, blah, blah, blah. The minute I was confronted with anything, like anything that would hurt me, I would totally shut down. And I would black out. And, you know, just, you know, not pass out, but I would just go into like an altered state. You know, and it would be simpler that way. And I noticed those times that I couldn't deal with any kind of confusion, abuse, pain. That's when I would pick up. And it would be okay. I'd pick up for a day, you know, just enough to calm down. And that's it, you know. And, you know, that was a very young age, you know. And as time went on, of course, it got nuts. You know, I started liking to use, and this is cool. And, you know, I still, even when I was using, it never affected me the right way, you know. And about a couple of years ago, I started having these meltdowns. And I went out to see my brother. And a lot of this I'm sharing for the first time, because I've had to take it one step at a time and put things together. And I started, like, my brain was going wacky. I was having a meltdown, and like, my husband doesn't even know. I was on the phone with 2 people every day melting down. And I'm like, what is going on with me? You know, I've got this clean time in. You know, maybe a year or so prior, I locked myself in a hotel room and melted down. You know, I lost my time, but it wasn't, I'm using, it was, I started wanting to die. I started actually wanting to die. And it's like, Debbie, you can't go to the doctors. If you go to the doctors, people are going to think you're doing this, 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 and this, and this, and this, and that. You know, so it wasn't an option for me anymore. And as a result of not going, it slowly got worse. But you couldn't have told me this. I didn't know this was happening to me. All I know is every time that I felt uncomfortable, I would use. Every time, like, if I was alone, I was my best friend when I was alone, because nobody was around and my head could do it and I could do what I wanted to, which was never slow down. And so I got on an airplane for 15 hours nonstop. And see, and this is where the weird stuff comes in. I'm on a plane by myself going out to see somebody who has abused me on and off my whole life. You know, I'm gonna have this big family reunion. and blah, 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 and, he's supposed to be clean now, and that's okay. I'm all about forgiveness today, and everything's beautiful and spiritual, and, I sat on that plane for 15 hours and tried to figure out how to get the door open to jump out. I sat in that plane with liquor being served. I never touched it. I like, okay, I can get through this with my program. I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And I never thought about, I didn't even want to use. I'm like, this is not an option for me. And so by the time I landed, I know Hawaii pretty good because I studied up on it. You can get off the plane and go to a clinic, and you can pretty much get Valium and Xanax and everything else. You just walk in and you get it. And my intention was to, I just need something to calm down because I could feel it. I mean, 15 hours of what I know now to be passive suicide thoughts. I knew that I had to get something, and I knew that I couldn't pick up a shot or this and this and that. And this is where the disease of addiction kicked in. I hauled ass to the doctors, and I got some Valium. I thought, okay, because I couldn't breathe. I mean, I looked horrible. I'm shaking, and I thought, oh my God, this is not about using. Before I even walked in there, I'm ready to pass out, and this is getting worse and worse. So that's what I did. And the minute I took that Valium, it was embedded into me that I just used. And then that the disease of addiction kicked in, and it said, you just threw away all your time anyways. Go ahead and have a couple beers, and that's what I did. And then I just stopped, and it was fine, for a long time. But my brain didn't absorb the fact that I did. I don't believe I relapsed when I picked the Valium up, but I know that I did when I picked the alcohol up. And then within 24 hours, I was sitting on the beach, imagining myself drowning, how I was going to walk out like the movies, and by this time I started feeling hopeless in recovery, because you guys know me, I had a good time, I had ample time in, and I know today I had no control over this, and so, life went on, just the denial that there's anything wrong, it's all my disease, I need to work harder, took a surrender chip, and moved on with my recovery. And then little things started happening. The suicide thoughts got worse. And my rigid program said, you know what, you cannot go to any doctor in the world because they're going to give you this, and that. And you're going to end up just like you were before. And by not doing that, within the last year of my recovery, it started getting worse, and Mark would go to work, and I would lay frozen in the bed because I didn't want to get up when he was getting ready for work. And the minute he left, I would get up, and some days I remember, some days I don't, and I haven't picked up yet, this time. And that was one of my biggest fears is, I was to the point in my head where it said, you're not going to come back, and you need to make it permanent. You need to make it permanent. And I would spend hours and hours and just go away, And I was also fighting the disease of addiction when, when I picked up a while back, And I was in a hell of a fight for my life, and my mental health told me that I was hopeless. That was it. I fried myself so bad out there when I was using that. This is it. This is your results. And you don't need to live with this, and you shouldn't live with this. And I'm trying to figure this all out. Where is this coming from? And I'm doing it all by myself. And how do you explain something to somebody when you don't understand what's going on with you? And when you do, you're told you're this, and this, and this, and that, And I have to go back to the basic text today. We are not we are not doctors. We are not lawyers. But a lot of people were, and I forgive those people today because they didn't know any better. They were just trying to help every way they could. And so it started getting worse, and I started attempting suicide. Like, I'd get up in the morning and take, the house was stockpiled with pain relievers. Nobody knew. My husband didn't know. I had them hidden all over. And so I'd wake up and I would just start taking handfuls of them, thinking, okay, I'm going to lay down with these. Finally, I've taken enough and go to sleep and not wake up, and it'll be really painless. It didn't happen. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I would do it day after day after day, you know, and this is, I can't even explain the spiral that I was going through. You know, it was a living hell. And so I'm like, okay, well, if I keep doing this, then I'm going to eventually break down and I will have a heart attack, you know, and I'll just go really quick, you know, or, you know, and I would talk about this here. And it's like, no, it's too painful, you know, and plus you don't want to have a mess. And that's when the thought of using really came in. I mean, I was in a struggle for my life, and I didn't even know it. I thought it was, for me, I thought it was all about the drug, and it wasn't. You know, and it got worse and worse and worse, and I started melting down more and more and more. And so I finally got my butt to the doctors, and I said, man, there's some weird stuff going on with me. And he took a blood test, and he told me I was in menopause, and gave me some Premarin. And I'm thinking, oh, thank God, because I have to do something. So this is acceptable medicine, you know, because to me medicine was dope. And within 24 hours I felt a lot better, and I took it for like a week, I believe, or something like that, and it wasn't working. Something was really wrong. I'm like, okay, this was it. This is the truth. I need to go. I need to go, because I can't live like this clean, you know, and trying to stay clean, you know. And so my brain went to, okay, this isn't working quick enough. So Marilyn Monroe popped in my head. Okay. And I'm thinking, you know what? That's the only way that I know how to go quick, is take enough of these and wash it down with some vodka. Because of the interaction, that's it, you're dead. You know, I'm thinking, oh God, I hate this stuff, you know. And so I did, and that was the intent. If there was any left, I would dump it out. It was all to lay down and die, you know. And my husband had no understanding of what was going on with me, you know, and people didn't. So all they saw was, man, she's just a relapser. You know, how could she get that time in and do this? You know, and I'm like, I was getting beat up, and I was beating myself up. And so it got worse. It got worse, and nothing worked. And I know God did not leave me, you know. And then I found out that in some way it balanced me out. And this is how I'm gonna tell you how I found this out. I had a pretty bad meltdown, and it was coming very sporadically, you know, just out of control. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror. Do you look okay? You have to totally shut yourself off from anything, any emotion, because that might be wrong, this might be wrong, you know. And I'm putting my husband through like a roller coaster, you know. And we've been married a long time, and we both have the disease of addiction. One can get sick, and the other will end up getting sick, and the other one might calm down, and the other one stays sicker, you know. And that's kind of what happened with us. And he didn't know it. And October, I think it was October, that's when I finally went, where I finally snapped. And I called him I think it was the day after Halloween, and I called him to come home. And he didn't know that it was going to be my last day. You know, I finally snapped to the point where, you know, this is it. Now I understand why I used the way I did, and I picked up. That does not discard the fact that I'm an addict. I'm a full-blown addict, you know, and I understand that, and, you know, that this program is saving my life today. And I asked him to come home for dinner, and earlier that day, I was doubling everything, the handfuls I was taking. And I had a bottle stashed, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna invite him home for his last dinner, make it real nice, and get enough alcohol in me so I start breaking down. He'll eat, and he usually goes to bed because he's got to be up to work early. And so I took some more before he got home, and it's like he couldn't smell it on my breath, And so he got very upset, and I don't blame him. Then I got upset and I got crazy, and that's what happens sometimes. But as a result of a domestic dispute, I guess I could call it, and I couldn't understand why he couldn't see, and he didn't know what was going on in my head, and I need help. Doesn't anybody understand that? This is not addiction for me. There is something bad. And so I did that, and I had enough alcohol in me, and then the sleeping aids all started kicking in, that my brain I just got angry. I got angry because he didn't see, and he didn't want to help me, and this and that. And as a result, I was sitting there, I was praying, I thought, okay, one more, he's in bed, one more, and that, I know that will be it. I will finally, finish. And as a result of what happened, I left home and I got on a bus. And this is where, I know my higher power stuck with me. And things started coming together. It's like, I have some mental illness happening. This is not just a using thing. And I got on a bus, I think about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was dropped off by a friend. I look, and there's a big, beautiful blue, brand new bus with blue carpeting, blue lights, and I felt a peace come over me, and I thought, this bus is here for me. God sent this bus for me, and I spent 12 hours like in a manic, trying to figure out how to get the doors open to jump out. But I was on my way to get help, and I thought, God, I need something to calm me down, and I did fine, I just kind of went in outer space for a while, and I was met by some friends, and I don't remember making the phone call to get help. And when I got down there, I was in I was in a total blown manic, which is what they call it. I didn't know that's what it was. And I was sedated. I don't remember picking up the phone to call this clinic for help, but I did. I guess I filled out paperwork. I don't remember. They got me in within 48 hours because I was going to leave the house where I was at and jump off a viaduct. And I want to use, but this time I just want to use. My disease is full blown, and I'm grateful because I'm not picking up down there. I'm there for help, and I'm not me anymore. I've snapped. And I walked in, they got me in, I walked into this doctor's office, and I'm like, I got to make her understand that I am an addict, and it's hard for me to be here, and if you're going to give me anything, don't give me this, don't give me that. I told her what to give me, what to just subscribe me and everything else. And I didn't even open my mouth, and she looked at me, and she goes, you have gone undiagnosed your whole life. And yes, you are an addict. And she goes, did you ever wonder why you were using? I'm like, yeah. I always wondered, because I never really wanted to. It was all, my brain kept saying, calm down. But when the disease of addiction takes over, you go through all the stuff. You do everything. And so as a result, I got some good help. And I was terrified about being put on medication. But at that time, the obsession, compulsion was so alive to use, and I knew that I couldn't, and I'm dealing with, oh God, I threw time away, and this and that, and I have no control, no impulse control, no nothing. And I remember falling on the floor when she told me that and crying, because I found an answer, you know, and it was there the whole time by those thoughts, like, something just ain't right. You shouldn't feel like this in recovery. You know, everybody saw the happy, you know, go-lucky Deb, you know, and so this whole time I've been in recovery, I've really been in an altered state, and I didn't know that. And these 12 steps kept me from using, going out and actually going to the dope house, doing this and doing that, you know. And I found out that they didn't work for what was going on with me mentally. So within this last 9 months, today, you know, I just like to share that I am 9 months back from mental illness, you know, and I did the right thing for me. I took a surrender tag way a long time ago, because the basic text tells me if you misuse in any way, you know, to me, you know, for whatever intentions, reasons, you know, you've had a relapse. I like setback, you know, personally. But, you know, the clearer that my head gets today, the more I see in this basic text. And it's all there, but it's a very gray area in Narcotics Anonymous, you know. And so my surrender point was when I was in Jackson at 2 o'clock in the morning, when I had to merge the disease of addiction me, the mental illness me, the full-blown menopause me, and Debbie. And it came. And I have to take medicine the rest of my life. And now that I'm more clear-headed and aware, I can see everything. I can see the reasons, the when, you know, and I do know that if I wasn't doing these 12 steps, you know, I wasn't going to meetings, and, you know, everything else that comes along with it, I would have ended up out there, you know, and I would eventually have died one way or the other. And I've only, and this is the first time I've shared a lot of it, and I put a little bit out of it when I was downstate, and I didn't realize that I'm not unique at all. I had so many people come up to me that identified with where I was at and had been there, and they, you know, they said, "You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay." And I'm gonna share just for a second about something that happened here. I think it was last year or the year before. I was sitting in the lunchroom, and there was a lady out on the deck, and I saw her, and she looked just terrible, and she was crying. So something drew me to her, and I walked out on the balcony. I said, "Are you okay?" She goes, "No, I don't even know why I picked up. I just threw 17 years away." So I by this time, when that time happened, I just knew I was in menopause. So that was going to be the answer, you know. So she started describing to me how she was feeling. I said, "Have you been to the doctors?" You know, because she's relating a lot of things that I was going through and went through. And she goes, "No." And I said, "I'm just going to suggest that you go get a blood test, you know, and see if you might be in menopause." And the weirdest thing was, and she made all these excuses. My doctor. I said, "I don't care. Walk into the emergency room, because you're not going to make it. There's no way in hell that you can make it going through that little bit of mental stuff, you know, because women, the way we're built and genetics and everything, and you guys don't want to be us sometimes." And she did that. And she called me, and she goes, "I'm in full-blown menopause. Now I understand a lot of stuff, you know." And a couple miracles happened while I was gone. I was with some really wonderful people, and I was right where I needed to be, you know. I found out that I was totally addicted to being codependent, you know, and that's probably been my biggest thing. I just thought I was a really nice person, you know. And, you know, now that I can think back, you know, and my memory's finally clear from my childhood growing up all the way through, that's all I knew. I spent my whole life watching my mother get the shit kicked out of her, and then being nice to my dad, making him special dinner. So that's all I knew. So that's, that was pretty much the gist of all my relationships. And there's a couple miracles here. I've always been close to my youngest daughter. She went to treatment when she was about, 12, and they found out what was wrong with her, because she went right with trying to kill herself. And, she'd be gone for days and days, and we had a network out. And about a year ago, I was going through this, she was having meltdowns. And I had to finally not sever the ties, but cut the cord and say, I can't help you with this. You need to go see somebody. And she did, And I would sit there and tell her, your codependency is so bad. Look at the relationships. And, it didn't even dawn on me till the other day. It's like, oh my God, that's all she ever knew was from me. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, And I was asked to write an article for some literature that's in the works on my experience, and I had to do some research and stuff because a lot of us are a lot sicker than we think, and a lot of times you don't really find out till you get clean, because whatever else is going on with you has no place to go. You can't mask it with the dope anymore, or sex, or anything else. And so I was really excited about that, because my self-esteem issues and my disease tells me, oh, you can't do this. You have nothing to share. And a lot of people have died in the last few years that have been clean. And it's been very sad. And I understand some of it today that they didn't get all the help that they needed to add to their program, because I was almost one of them, so I can understand it now, and you can look at people sometimes and they go, man, they need to get some help outside of this, fellowship too, so they can maintain their clean time and be physically and mentally fit, and through my experience, and I don't need to take anybody through all the whole nightmare and the gory details, and everybody knows probably anyways, but if I had to go through what I have gone through my whole life to get where I'm at today at 51 years old, it was worth every bit of it. It was worth I have so much gratitude today, because you know what? For me, it's come full circle. I can be a healthy, well-focused, balanced person today, and I had to work on some forgiveness, for myself and for some people's ignorance, you know what I'm saying? And, ignorance is not a bad word. You're just not educated on this certain thing. So you don't know. So you know what? If you don't know, you need to watch what you share and say at the tables. Because I came in this fellowship bringing with love, and I was met at the tables with a lot of intolerance and opinions and judgments. And that's not what this fellowship is about. It's about men and women identifying. We all have one thing in common, that is the disease of addiction, but we still are human beings. We have a personality of our own, and we are still unique in our own way, because that's what makes us. And I heard Lori share, you see somebody, there was times I was trying to cry out. I was crying out in my head, but it wouldn't come out of my mouth. It couldn't come out of my mouth. And it was like Lori was sharing earlier, you see somebody and you think they're in trouble, walk up to them. Because I used to pray somebody would just come up to me and go, you're not okay. There's something wrong. But you know what? That didn't happen. I had to get through this myself. I had to accept this myself, take the responsibility of doing what I have to do today to stay clean. Because without what I'm doing, and the medication is not dope, it might be to some people, I would not be standing here today, and I have a lot of gratitude, and a lot of people helped me through this time, And I think the uniqueness is what damn near put me out of this fellowship, you know, and because I felt unique. And I'm like, nobody understands, you know, they're supposed to know. We're sick people. That's what the basic text says. We're a society of sick individuals, you know, and we need to help people, you know. And I was told before I left that I'm just a servant, and that's all I am. I share my experience, my strength, and my hope, you know, and I might have ruffled a few feathers, you know, and you know what? I don't care. It's my experience, my strength, and my hope. And I know by sharing it a few times very, very lightly, somebody has gone, oh my God, maybe that's me. Maybe that's what's going on with me. And that's what it's all about to me. You know, and this was a healing process for me. I was so nervous. I almost puked this morning. I ended up at the wrong workshop an hour early. You know, I'm like, God, I'm going to make that guy go first. And this girl goes, isn't Lori sharing first? I'm like, man, what workshop is this? And she told me, I'm like, oh, cool, man, I got an hour to chill. But I want to thank you for listening to me. And whatever's going on, and you think that you're not an addict, if you're here, you are. But there might be other things going on behind the scenes, you know, and I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed today. I am not judgmental. I've knocked myself off that pedestal, you know, because, you know, I don't know. I'm still learning. You know, I hear that saying, the more you keep coming, the less you know. Oh my God. You know, and I think I need to write a book to get it all down, you know. But I'm happy to be here another year. I'm grateful to be clean this year, you know, and a lot of you that knew that I was struggling, and a lot of you probably thought I was just using, now you know, Debbie, what the mental aspect of me, you know, and I'm okay. And there was a lot of prayers out there, and I want to thank you. God bless everybody.
My name is Neil. I'm an addict. We have a second speaker for you. They're just arriving, so we've got a few moments to spare. So I've been instructed to open the floor for anyone who'd like to share for a few moments on our topic, which is addiction. Is it just drugs?
Julie, I'm an addict.
Hey, Julie.
Hi. Hi. That was great, Debbie. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's so good to hear that. You know, I work with people struggling with mental health conditions, and you know, so do I. And you know, you just made it okay to come up here and share. That's big. I like that. Share from the heart. I'm nervous too, and I'm not even scheduled to speak. It's so good being here. What is it, addiction? I don't have my glasses, and I'm the program chairperson. Addiction, is it just drugs? Oh, heavens, no. No, but I didn't know that, you know, until I got here and stuck around, and you guys taught me that it goes so much further than that, you know. Anything I like, look out. So I struggle for balance, I still do. I had a significant amount of clean time, almost 9 years. And then I relapsed, and it had a whole lot to do. I didn't know it at the time, like you, Debbie. Had a whole lot to do with that. And so just lately, there's things I'm figuring out. It just takes all this time to figure this out about yourself. And I think also because I'm not the type of person, and I never have been, it's not easy for me to let you in. And I'll probably always be that way. But I'm working on it. I don't know if I can talk for 5 minutes, but I wanted to say thanks a lot for that. That helped me tremendously. I'm real glad to be here. Glad to be back. It's been a few years I've been back now, but like I said, it's, you know, it's still a big struggle for me. I still deal with a lot of shame and guilt, you know, and I've been back for quite a few years. But, so I need a lot of help, you know. I need all of you to help me. So, that's all I got. Thanks. From Cincinnati. He's gonna
Okay, I'd like to introduce our.
Right.
Welcome, brother.
My name is Ricky and I'm Addy.
Hi.
Okay. First of all, definitely need a moment of silence. Let God enter through me, so whatever I need to share about, I can get it out the way and let God speak instead of Ricky speaking. Okay, thank you. Okay, the topic is addiction. Is it just drugs? You know, not saying anything other than that. I notice there's a question mark behind that. So in some areas, I guess that's a question. And for me to answer that, speaking on my behalf, you know, I would just definitely have to say, addiction, is it just drugs? I say no. And the reason why I say that is long before drugs became apparent in my life, I had addiction. And right now, the first thing I can say, it was the lifestyle. You know, the way I grew up in Cincinnati. I grew up downtown Cincinnati. And where I grew up at, the biggest thing that was attracted to me was guys wearing tailor-made, big hats, driving big cars like Cadillacs and slamming doors, standing on the corner, you know, talking smack, doing all these things, looking at it that, you know, that was my attraction and I thought it was cool. Now the question is how it become addiction. I started modeling them, imitating them, you know, before I realized I was doing some of the same thing other than driving a big Cadillac, you know. But, you know, my money situation became that I wanted these tailor-made pants. And the biggest story about that is that even the guys who hung out on the corner is the way they used to have their hand. And, you know, it was like, you know, I don't want to go into detail, but as a young man, I used to position my hand on a certain part of my body, okay? And this is what I'm leading up to it, so you gotta bear with me, because the base of the question is about addiction and about drugs. And I'm trying to give you a little bit about me so you understand what I'm talking about. And this was long before the drugs. And I became addicted to this lifestyle. You know, it's like anytime I see people, you know, to me, you know, they was doing all the things that I thought was like, you know, was really good, you know. And so somewhere throughout this period of time that it became a habit, things that I wasn't even aware of. You know, when my mother would see me with my hands on certain part of my body and she would say something to me and I would say, you know, I didn't know I was doing that. And I became addicted to that, of putting my hand on certain part of my body. And I thought as a young man, that was like portrayed, you know, like it was all that big, so I had to hold on to it, if y'all get what I'm saying. You know, I became addicted to that, you know, because I even took it as far as being in school. And my school teachers and all that would say something to me, and you know, and sometimes my conscience wasn't aware of what I was doing. But see, I was attracted to the lifestyle, so I became addicted to the lifestyle. This is what all I knew. Then when I go to the show, you know, I watch certain movies. I was an action-packed person. I love action. Even today, I love action. You know, love stories and dramas, and you know, I wasn't into that. You know, I love action. You know, and so I model myself after the people I seen in the movie. And see, this became a fantasy of mine. You know, because I wanted to be something that I wasn't, and what I seen others, it was just watching TV and watching movies and so forth. And see, this was long before drug. And even like today, part of that addiction, it carried on to me picking up cigarettes. See, I'm 51 years old, and I could say I've been addicted to cigarettes at least 40 years. 40 years at an early age. This is what I was watching, this is what I was seeing. I was seeing these things, and I was seeing people, and the funny thing was, people used to hold cigarette right on the tip of their lip, and they could talk, you know, and just not miss a conversation, just stay, and the cigarette would not fall and so forth. So I formed that habit. I became addicted to that, holding cigarettes on the tip of my tongue and stuff, you know. So these things like this is long before drugs and everything. Is it just drugs? No, it's not. But throughout that process, I started experimenting. Because like I say, it's the lifestyle. So during that period of time, people, they was using certain drugs, and they used to like deny. And I was looking at that, you know, and one thing led to another. Before you know it, I was doing that, okay? And so this became addicted to me also. But at the time, it was just fun. I was just doing this. At my time, I was experimenting. Didn't know, long behold, after years of experiment, it became addicted and became a habit, you know. And throughout the process of me growing up, you know, like I say, I talk about the lifestyle because, see, this is what led me to where I'm at today. And I can remember at an early age, and a lot of times I always share this because this is my story. I was first introduced to Narcotics Anonymous in 1972. 1972. And at that period of time, I was in junior high school. It was a person who had been through the war, Vietnam War, and he came home, and he was like a big brother to me. And he seen the things about where my life was going to go. So by him coming out of the Vietnam War, he felt it was best to try to help me, so my life would never end up like him. And you know, I didn't understand it. I really didn't, because see, my thinking was, how did drugs make people do the things they did? Why did drugs make them do this? And I used to see guys there when I was going to the meetings with, and I was forced to go to meetings. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't like I went on my own. He dragged me. My mother was more than glad for me to go because she could not do anything, and she felt in her heart maybe a big brother to mine be able to get this help that I was going, because I didn't know that. And so he used to drag, and I used to see guys in there biting their nails. It wasn't no nails, and they was just doing all these things. And I was saying that, I said, you know, how drugs get these people like that? Because see, my thinking was on self-will, that I could stop anything I wanted. Anything that I wanted to do, I could stop. Because see, at that early age, I felt strong that whatever I put my mind to something, I could do. And I did not know, and all the times that I was going there, and that's why I say it's part of my story, because at that period of time, I could not stop. And it was spearmint. It was just having fun. Using was having fun. And that's all it was. Because part of my neighborhood was we lived for the weekend. We had songs out, living for the weekend. You know, when you get paid, the eagle flies. You know, it was time to party, you know, and stuff like that. And then on top of that, I love sports and watching athletes on TV doing things. At that period of time, they were doing cigarette commercials. They was doing beer commercials. They was doing all types of commercials and everything. So this was what I was attracted to and so forth. And this is how I became addicted. And like I said, addiction is it just drug? No, I got addiction for anything and everything. It does not matter in all areas. It can be sex. It can be gambling. It can be a session of making money. You know what I'm saying? I got addiction, so it's more than just drugs. Because even today, and I say this because right now I work 2 jobs, also I tape and everything, and I get caught up on addiction on money. Because for so long throughout my using, you know, I always spend my money. I always, before you know it, work 40 hours, 2 hours, I'm broke. You know what I mean? So throughout this part of this process, and then when I got clean, let me rephrase that, and I need to share my clean date because even I shared that I went to my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting in 1972. My clean date is April 1st, 2000. Okay? Now, even in that process, I struggled. And I could say my struggle actually began in 1995 of me kind of teetotaling, coming to meetings, you know, on my own now. This is not something that I was forced to drag. It was a part of my life where that I knew I needed help. But see, I wasn't buying into Narcotics Anonymous then, you know, because I still had that thinking I could stop on my own. You know what I'm saying? I still had that thinking, the self-will, whenever I want to, I can stop. But see, I wasn't looking at the fact that, yeah, I might stop and have a rest for a moment, but somebody knock on my door, or if I got some money in my pocket, there I go again. You know what I'm saying? So throughout this process, when I was using, I could not keep no money. And so eventually, when I got clean, now actually when I first, and I also remember this, when I first said I was serious about, when I came to the understanding that said I have a problem, I went into a treatment facility, and this was January the 4th, 1999. Okay, but that's not my clean date. So I went in the process, I stayed in treatment for 6 months, and I still felt that I can go around people, places, and things. I was an addiction to the fact that I like people, and what people did, I enjoyed being around. Now, me still telling myself I still can stop. And naturally, that didn't work. You know, I got addicted to the people. So it wasn't just about the dope. You know, it was the people. You know, I felt that the people that I was associated with, everybody I knew, use drugs. If somebody didn't use drugs, I didn't bother them. So I was addicted to just being around them, just showing up wherever they was at. I went, you know. And eventually, if it was the case, they knew when I got paid, they show up to see me. So that became addiction, you know. I started thinking people were supposed to come see me in that area. That was when it was still fun. But to get back, I got back, and I was not successful. And I thank God that I didn't stay out there long enough. And at that period of time, I realized something, that I could not continue to live my life like that, you know. And I'm really, truly conscious, thought about that. And I can remember it was March 31st. And I said to myself, I'm going to do this. This is something what I want. And even in that period of time, I had joined the home group, but I was just there, you know, on names, you know. I opened up the meeting, chaired the meeting once I did get 6 months, but I really didn't take it that serious and so forth. But at March 31st, you know, I made a point to say, hey, The next day, and then my thinking was, I was gonna do that one last one before I got clean. And I don't know why that always the case. Even I work at a treatment facility now, and people before they come in, they got to get their last one in and so forth. So I went ahead and did it, and then that next day, I said I'm gonna make a commitment. I'm addicted to Narcotics Anonymous. I'm addicted to it. This is my life. And from that point forward, I got very diligent into a home group that I opened up the meetings, I put up chairs, I go to other meetings, and a lot of times people don't share a lot about it, or at least in my area, I don't hear a lot about that, especially when you're new, you should get to the meeting 30 minutes before the meeting, help set up a chair, and after the meeting, stay 30 minutes later and put up the chair. I don't hear a lot of people sharing about that no more. But that's when I made a point that addiction becomes that I was going to make Narcotics Anonymous my life, because, Narcotics Anonymous can live without me. I just can't live without it. And so I had to bottle down, and at that period of time, which I had a girlfriend, and I had to let her know right then and there when she's in the room that this is who I'm married, Narcotics Anonymous. I'm married to Narcotics Anonymous. I would put everything I could into this. I don't care if some things that you say you want to spend quality time, we don't spend no time together. I got to be okay with that, because for real, see, she has some clean time. I didn't have no clean time. And that means me going to 4 and 5 meetings a day, because I didn't know what else to do. Because, see, for me, if I didn't go to these meetings, I know what I'd be thinking. Some things about being around old people, places, and things. So I had to buy into it and start reading my basic text. I had to read It Works How and Why. I had to start learning how to do step work. I had to also be able to come to the group and to share whatever was going on with me. I also had to keep in contact with my sponsors, people in my network, people outside my network. I had to make a point that to say whatever I need to do, I'm going to do. And I became addicted to it. This is my life. I can't even imagine having another life than what I have in Narcotics Anonymous. I go places, I meet people, I get phone numbers, I call people and so forth. And that's why I said I'm married to Narcotics Anonymous. I had to really make in my mind, this is what I want to do. And I say this a lot. The newcomer is the most important person at any meeting. I don't know, a lot of times that we forget how it was when we was new. By not knowing people, feeling strange, being in the places whereas, you don't know if this is your life or this is what you want to have your life. So I became addicted to this, and I share this with my sponsees and everything. It is so important to have a home group, like before the day is over with, I will call people in my home group just to see what's going on, how things go, was the people there. I've become addicted to narcotics now. Yeah, it's more than just about the drug. Addiction is not just drugs. We get addicted to a lot of things. I'm addicted to the fact that I love the fact that, I have a place I can call home. A lot of times, I hear people say they was homeless and everything. I have a home with my name on the lease. I have a place where I meet regular on Saturdays at 12 o'clock. And when I can't make my home group, I let people know to expect to have to see me, because a lot of times, people say, if they can't find you, they don't even know where to find you at a home group, and I'm addicted to going to my home group, as well as going to meetings. I believe in this. I try to make as many meetings as I can, because on any given day, if I'm not in a meeting around recovering people, I know what my thinking would be. See, I've still got screwed up thinking. And on any given day, even just like me being up here on the weekend, my mind said, well, you know, my fiance at home, I can do what I want. I'm addicted to that. You know, I know how my thinking is. So I got to check in. I talk to people. Even while I'm up here, I talk to people and let them know what's going on with me. You know, so, you know, addiction is more than just drugs. You know, I mean, like I say, you know, when I was sharing about the fact that I used to spend all my money, and I'm obsessed. I'm compulsive about money. I'm very tight with my money. I don't like giving up my money. And my fiance gets so mad because she loves to spend. You know, she loves to spend. And I'm addicted to saving money. You know, I believe in when I go to the bank, and this was a commercial used to be on. I don't know if y'all remember. Used to be like this guy, he on Riley's Burger, and they used to go ching ching. When I go to the bank and make that deposit, I say ching ching. I'm addicted to that. I like that sound because I knew for so long I was doing a lot of withdrawing, and I can remember in part of my addiction writing checks when I knew I didn't have money, you know, and so I had to sometimes reverse this because I was addicted to writing checks that I didn't have. You know, and deal with the consequence later. And when the consequence came down, I didn't want to deal with, you know. So today, you know, I'm addicted to that. I love it. Before I came up here, I went and put a deposit in the bank. And the reason why I did that is the fact that I'm getting married in 2 weeks, you know. And, you know, I know along with that, it comes expenses and everything. But one thing I do know is I want everything to work itself out. I don't want to get caught up in a set to be that tight with money. Now, get me wrong. We're going to enjoy ourselves, but after the honeymoon, we're going to get back to basics. You know what I mean? We're getting back to the basics. So for that moment, you know, I'm going to enjoy while I can and so forth. And, you know, addiction is it's more than just drugs, you know. I mean, a lot of times people, you know, I mean, I can remember I had a real gambling problem, you know, and this was something today I truly work on. I don't believe in playing the lotto, and I know sometimes, don't get me wrong, I have done it now a few times when he's talking about 20 million and 30 million, you know, but I ain't gonna go out there and spend no 50 no $100 on no lotto tickets. It only take one ticket to win. So I just might pay a couple of dollars or $5 and that's it. You know, and I was one of the ones who had this wishful thinking, boy, I wish I could have won that money, but you know, the lotto got you into if you don't play it, how you gonna win? So I gotta watch that, you know, cause gambling at an early age, I used to shoot dice all the time, you know, and I enjoyed it, you know, and I became addicted to it, and this was long before the drugs. You know, and at that time it was having fun. So today, even playing cards, and I know a lot of people like to play bidwest and spade and all that, but somehow when I'm playing cards, I slap it and I start flipping it and shuffling that. I become addicted to that, and it takes me back, you know. And I know I've been around people that who very good at cards, and you know, at that period of time, so I got to watch that. You know, every blue moon, I will play some cards. Now, even goes into the fact that, you know, I don't like playing them games with dice because I have to shake them up a certain way and throw it, and I got to snap my finger and so forth. And before, if I don't watch myself, I can get caught back up into that. You know, see, I got to watch things that I do, you know, and maybe some people can do that, you know, but for me, I can't do it. So, yeah, it's more than just drugs. I'm telling you, you know, it's just funny, you know, a lot of times by me doing my step work, when I start writing about stuff and things for so long, I say, damn, why, you know, I forgot all about that. Somewhere throughout the process, I forgot about this stuff, you know. But when I do my step work, stuff becomes more revealed. And that's what I used to trip out, because out of base tech, we say more will be revealed. A lot of stuff I didn't understand that, but boy, when you start putting it on a piece of paper, stuff be more revealed. And I'm like, man, stuff that I totally forgot about, So yeah, it's more than just drugs, One thing for sure, I gotta be careful about the things and the people that I still hang around. People in recovery. Because some people ain't about the right things. They might be absent, but does not mean they're working on their recovery. And I can get caught up into people that, some things I don't understand why they do it, but, I just got to remember I don't need to do this. See, I can't lose focus on the fact that someone else do these things. I got to remember I can't do these things. And sometimes, I see people and it hurts me that in this fellowship that they do the things they do. Because for real, we all in here for recovery. And some of the things that privilege from our past, don't bring it into the rooms. I'm one of the ones that I believe in the steps. I truly believe in the tradition, I believe in service, and, times that when we have newcomers that look at sometimes older members and they might think it's right because the older members do it, they can do it. And a lot of times, I try to point things out, and I do talk to a lot of younger people who are just early in their recovery because I don't want to see them get caught up. I believe in, a person coming to a meeting, sitting up front, staying and watching and listening. Not every time you turn around, getting up, going to the coffee, going outside, smoking a cigarette, and, actually being there because you might miss something by getting up and walking out. Especially early on in your recovery, you need to be in the meeting, sitting up front. Let the people get to know you. Read the readings, because that helped me early on because some of the things I might not heard or wasn't comprehensive what people were saying, but when I remember reading something like who's an addict or why we here, what's narcotic anonymous. See, these little things like that, it kind of sunk in. I be reading it a lot. And I remember early on, I go to a meeting, I try to go to as many meetings early on, and I try to read Who's an Addict for 30 days. I make sure I get there early. The first thing I ask, let me read Who's an Addict. And I continue on down there. And I can remember I used to hate to read the 12 traditions. I used to hate that, but I did that. And see, I didn't know then. And that became a habit. And I got addicted to reading readings, So, but when I was reading the 12th tradition and I started practicing by being in groups, how tradition is so important. And see, one of the big things is it made me understand when this stuff was written, boy, it's still alive today. It's like amazing. Can you imagine Jimmy K and them sitting down and they're writing this stuff? And now here it is, 2006, and it's still applied today? That's amazing. That's a miracle, And one of the biggest things that even with all that, I always say this, and this is something that I've been going through the last few months, which I always knew, but now it makes more sense than anything. Principle before personality. Boy, that means something. That really means something. And today, I even had to practice that. I have to practice that on a daily basis because a lot of times involved in groups, we all want our way, and when we can't get our way, we want to have sucker fits. I know I do, So I have to also remember group conscience is very important, and my way might not be the best way. So by that being the way it is, I have to sometimes step aside, So the biggest thing is I'm glad that I got a chance to come up here and speak. I wasn't thinking I was going to be speaking, just up here taping. But I'm thankful that we have a place like this we can come, we get to know each other, and, I really, truly am glad to be here. Thank you. My name is Richard.